talking about? That's the worst thing to do, is bug a radio station to play your song. Because 9 out of 10 times, they're not gonna play it.
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
they're just tired of hearing about it. But, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, you had the chance to work with, I guess, a mid-Michigan legend for quite a few years, and that's Bob Dyer.
Oh, Bob, and Dick
And-
Fabian.
Yeah, well, I got to meet Bob Dyer through
Mhm.
you,
Mhm.
through one of those sessions at Tubby's Bar in Bay
Oh,
City.
he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's full of stories.
What a good guy.
And Fabian, well, Fabian's like Dick Burton. You always had better watch your back. He's gonna come up with something. Yeah, and they were good people. Then I worked with Dick when I was at Channel 5 too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How long were you at Channel 5?
About 4 or 5 years. I was their booth announcer. I did all the voiceovers.
What years?
Oh, from about 1990 to about 2000,
Oh, so 90. Okay.
somewhere back then.
Okay. I was wondering, Mike and I were
Lane.
talking the other day how we heard, we can remember hearing Traffic's, da-na-na-na-na-na, or it was a
Glad,
couple tunes.
Glad,
There's
yeah.
Bad.
The sign off.
Yeah, their sign off
song.
music, and I wondered who was responsible for that back in the 80s.
I wasn't on TV in the 80s, thank goodness. I have a face for radio now. But, you know, they were fun days.
Yeah, you know, I guess it was the same thing when we were talking to Jim Bauer. It just seems like when you're in radio, you tend to move every few years. I guess
Mhm.
Bob
Well, you
Dyer would be a real exception to the rule, staying at KNX for
Yeah.
as long as he did. But most DJs, they move, you know, is there?
Well, you always want to better yourself. Go to a bigger station, a bigger market, make more money. But that's the part they don't tell you. The more money you make, also relates to how much rent an apartment is. So you're really not making that much more money.
It's just like the WKRP in Cincinnati song that they play all the time, moving up and down the dial.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it was fun. And
Where was your favorite of all of it? What was your best memories and your favorite looking back at it?
I'd have to say WKNX was probably, I was there the longest.
Yeah.
And in a radio station we put on the air. Well, I actually programmed WHNN when they first came on the air.
Really?
Back
Now,
in
what year
19
was that when H&M came on?
About 1976. They actually came on the air in 75, but they didn't have any pattern to them.
Yeah, I remember in high school, KISS was supposedly at the radio station. Are you familiar with that?
That was probably long after I left.
Okay. No, this would have been 74, 75.
Well, that was when they played Delta College, so they must have been in
Okay.
there for.
Like,
When
because
they
I
were
got there in
they were at
76.
Cass City too. That was the famous.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Cadillac.
deal. Oh, Cadillac. I'm
Cadillac,
sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
Cadillac,
Yeah.
Michigan, where they.
That's when
the
the
homecoming.
H&N studios were on Tuscola,
Right.
right next to the railroad.
Yeah, in
track.
fact, we drove by, they were announcing on the radio, KISS is here. We went, and it looks like nothing's going on there. So,
Mhm.
I don't know if it was a
Spoof.
or what.
Yeah.
But they did interview them. They did interview here in the studio. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rick, did you ever have any connection with Jim Atherton at all? Who, you know, he managed quite a few bands back in the '60s.
I've talked to Jim Atherton many times, but that was late in his life. I would say probably within the last 5 years.
Was he, you know, we were trying to get him on the show, and sadly, just as we were setting it up,
Mhm.
he unexpectedly passed away. But he had some pretty big plans, and one was to bring back the Lucky 11 label from Flint.
Yeah, well,
Did he ever
that was
speak?
Otis Ellis's and
Right.
Chuck Slaughter on that label. Both of them,
And I'm assuming both of them have passed away.
long time.
So, yeah, I think Jim was planning to, he had a young country artist that he was hoping to break.
Mhm.
He was talking to the first country artist on Lucky 11. But his big thing was somehow he had got, uh, control of an auditorium in Flint. It might have been one of the Flint schools that had closed and they had an auditorium. And
I think it was the school that Donnie Brewer went to.
oh, really? Okay. But he was going to try to get Grand Funk Railroad together, the original three members, and film a concert. And then, you know, he thought that he would be the only one that could get Mark Farner and Don Brewer together, you know, because they're at odds.
I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
It sounded, well, like I say, he thought he might be the only guy who could do it.
You know, in radio, we hear the stories behind the scenes. You know, sometimes you tell people personally instead of, because you don't want any problems. You
Off
don't
the
want
record.
it
Right.
off the record. You don't want
Yes,
to
exactly. So did you get to know Alice Cooper at all when they came back to Michigan?
Yeah, we did a show at Olympia Stadium when I was at CK with Alice, Three Dog Night, and I'm trying to remember the third person, Stepan.
Wow, that was quite a lineup.
And the prices were $2, $3, and $4 for tickets.
Yes,
That's the shocker.
Those were the days, yes.
But you know, that's when music was fun. And to be honest with you, I don't even listen to radio anymore. When I moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina 6 years ago, I'm scanning the dial in the car, and I found an oldies FM radio station. And not only do they play what everybody else plays, they play stuff I've never heard of.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
because I'm slowly getting used to what they call the peach music that they play down in the Carolinas. Okay, I know the chairman of the board, I know
Yeah.
the times, and, you know, this is all new stuff to me, and I'm loving it, you know.
Good. Something to challenge your ears.
Yeah. So that's the only station I listen to.
When you went to WHNN, was this when they were into the oldies format?
No, they were playing a mixture
New
of
stuff.
pop music and album.
Okay. So you stayed with that general format?
Mm-hmm.
How did you,
We did
you know,
good.
they became very successful, so what
think
was
the
your
high-
formula?
I think the highest share we had was at 25 shares, so we had a quarter of the entire audience in Saginaw Bay City. It's hard to describe the formula. It's ear,
Okay.
and it's the announcers like this.
All right,
You
you
know,
just
it
hear
was-
something and you kind of know that this,
Yeah, it was. You know, it had pieces of CKLW in it. It had parts of WKNX and WSAM, and so it had a lot of different parts, and we all blended together.
yeah, well, all your experiences from
Mhm.
those stations, yeah, certainly. Well, it sounds like they picked the right guy.
Yeah, well, we had fun.
Any good stories of Bob Dyer?
Bob would tell you a story, the same story. It's almost like it was embedded in his mind, and the script was always the same, and it's hilarious. You know, he was just a great guy.
Well, he and Dick Fabian were kind of right on the cusp of, you know, the big teen.
Oh yeah, that's
teen club scene with what they did at Rollaire with the Battle of the Bands and then
and the
renting,
Saginaw Y.
renting the
Y
Y
Go
for
Go.
Y a Go Go. I mean,
And
geez.
Bob also did the Sea Wing Sportsman's Club. Yeah, those days are gone. I drive down River Road, and I said, well, there's the old Van Canyon.
Yeah.
What's left of it? You know, and there was the old Sound Lounge. Remember that
Right,
one?
exactly.
You can't even see that place
No,
anymore.
that's-
Okay, where exactly is that? I've been looking for it.
The Sound Lounge. Let's see. If you're getting closer to almost in the middle of Bay City and
Right.
Milwaukee
Right.
Bridge.
Yeah.
It's on the left-hand side as you're going towards Saginaw.
Right.
There.
Is it by the motel?
It's
By a motel?
closer to Bay City.
Okay.
Yeah, there used to be like a bait shop there. That wasn't there very long. It was on the left-hand side. It was like a wooden structure. But the Sound Lounge is on a hill. You can still
Oh,
barely
okay.
see the
I think
roof.
I
of it,
know.
You know?
So
Because that used to be the Parkway Inn. before it was the Sound Lounge. It was a roller ring called the Parkway Inn. And before that, I mean, Count Basie played there, all the
Wow.
B.B. King played there, all the,
Count Basie and Glenn Miller played on Broadway, on 32nd and Broadway. And that building, which I'm surprised is still standing, and it hasn't been bulldozed yet. The bricks are falling off the place.
Is that the,
Right across the, right on the same side of the street, my dad's store.
On the west side,
Yeah.
yeah, right there, the big tall building.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I often wondered what went on there.
well, for a while, it was some sort of a lodge. They had turned it into a,
What is it, the Oddfellows?
yeah, I
Maybe.
can't remember. It might have been the Oddfellows.
is that bank building?
Well, I don't know that it was.
Because
a
they just
ranch.
had a thing about the big robbery and that
This-
happened there a
past
long
that.
time
This
ago.
was on, this is still on 32nd and Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah, the building's there. You know, I'm trying to think what year it would have been, 1976. I toured it because the organization I was working for, Tri-City SARE, was looking for a Bay City location. And that building was in great shape in 1976, but I don't think anything was ever done. You know, just like a building, you know, when
It just-
nobody's in it,
it
it
just
just
fell
starts
You
deteriorating.
know, the
right?
floors are falling in, the bricks are falling off.
Yeah.
Who did you say played? Count Basie and who?
Glenn Miller,
Glenn Miller? Yeah.
all the big band people played there, according to my dad.
Yeah, well, he would know.
Yeah.
Certainly. Did your dad, did he have much interaction with Winona Beach out there in?
He had the machines out there at Tony's Park,
Okay.
right, which